Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Guys, I hope you're all doing great. So before we get started into the video, I have to ask something of you real quick. If you're not a first-time viewer, go ahead and leave a like on the video, drop a sub, because what we're about to get into today is something that I don't think has ever been gotten into before. I don't think it's ever been done, and maybe with good reason. Today, we're going to take a champion who is pretty commonly known to be the worst legendary champion. Let's go check his reviews out. 2.6, red all down the board. But is this guy really that bad? So I went through yesterday and read his kit because, to be honest, for a long time I kind of just believed, hey, he's a bad legendary champion. He can't hit that hard. His multipliers are pretty low. He, I thought, relied heavily on other champions placing fear or true fear, better yet, on the enemies. And I don't think that's actually true. So what I'm about to do is book Nobel, pretty commonly known as the worst champion. So ideally, I want to get books into the A3 and the A2 for the cooldown reduction, but honestly, the A1, if I get some books there, not too big of a deal whatsoever. I mean, if we're going to do this, we might as well go all the way in. And something to make note of, I do have access to the test server, but this is not on the test server. So this is being booked out on my main account. I also really want the passive to be booked out because this is very, very important. So we are missing a few books there. Let's go ahead and do 3. Maybe we get books landing here and on the passive. If we do, maybe we just leave it there. But I had to make sure that I showed the booking on a video, because if I'm going to make this jump, I want to make sure that you guys can see it as well. So buff and debuff chant 1, 2, 3, 4. Guys, let's go ahead and do it. 1, 2, 3, 4 books for CVC points, baby, and for spreading the knowledge about Nobel. Hopefully we find out some pretty interesting stuff about him. Honestly, I have been doing some test server work with this guy, so just a heads up. I'm not going into this fully blind. I do think, oddly enough, and I did it on stream yesterday as well, that Nobel is actually not that terrible. I think he has some niche uses for a legendary champion. He's not a void legendary champion, which is good. I mean, he's an affinity legendary champion. Doesn't require that many books. I mean, what was it? 11 we just used, maybe 12. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so maybe it's on a little bit higher side, but if you really want to book this champion and actually use him, I think the passive is very important. The A3 and the A2 are very important. For the cooldown reduction, honestly, the A2, maybe not, but it's 3 books. If you can get the cooldown reduced, great. If not, not a huge deal. Really, the A3 and the passive are the main 2 things you want in his kit. So let's go ahead and read through his kit real quick, guys, and then we're going to go through a few different areas of the game. I'll show you my build. So if anything, this could be a guide for Nobel if you've actually pulled this champion, because oddly enough, there was no guides for Nobel. Everything for Nobel was, hey, come in here to the champion empowerment. If you played during the time of Ninja, go over here, click Ninja, click Nobel, boom. That's your champion guide for Nobel. But we're going to go a little bit more in depth than that today, guys. All right, so we're going to look at his skill kits real quick, okay? So his A1 ability attacks one enemy, 40% chance of decrease in duration of 2 random buffs on the target by 1 turn. If the target is under fear, true fear debuff, 65% chance of decrease in duration of all the target's buffs. So this is where people believe that he needs a champion who places true fear or fear to actually work. So like Mashal, champions like that, which there's very few champions who actually do fear or true fear. His A2 ability attacks one enemy, will ignore 30% of the target's defense, which is kind of weird. Fills his champion's turn meter by 25% after the attack. So an awesome turn meter boost on a 2-turn cooldown. Very, very, very nice. But the ignore 30% of the target's defense kind of makes you think this champion should be a nuke champion or like a damage dealer. But to be honest, he's not really that hard of a hitting champion. At least not what I've tested. I think he's far better in a different role. And I don't think that role is whatsoever damage dealing. If the target is under fear or true fear debuff, decreases the cooldown of the dismay skill by 1 turn. This right here, the dismay skill, is kind of like the main calling card for his kit, in my opinion at least. Attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance when fully booked of decreasing each enemy's turn meter by 50%. If there are any enemies under fear or true fear debuffs, that will also fill this champion's turn meter by the amount those enemies lose. So basically, if they have fear or true fear, he's going to get a full turn meter boost and take another turn, making this essentially an even lower cooldown, which is crazy. But going through his kit, there's no fear or true fear, which is kind of weird. But that's a big turn meter decrease. AoE, 50% turn meter decrease, is absolutely massive. His passive ability is what allows him to place fear or true fear. Well, actually just true fear specifically. Whenever an enemy's turn meter is fully depleted by any champion, 75% chance, books up to a 100% chance, it looks like, of placing true fear debuff on that enemy for 1 turn. 100% chance of placing true fear debuff on that enemy for 1 turn. This has gotten buffed, I guess, because I think it used to be a 50% chance, which is very nice, having it 100% chance when fully booked versus 75% chance. So now, if you run him in content with other turn meter decreasing champions, and this ability is fully booked, he's automatically placing true fear. So he's going to place that ability, no problem, no cooldown, nothing like that. And then he's going to do a dismay, take their turn meter, we'll reduce their turn meter, boost his turn meter, go into his A2. We'll get into actually how good he is as a turn meter manipulating champion, but I think he's better than just a +1 ninja. So his masteries are what I have set up right here. Honestly, you can go a lot of different things. I think getting some extra speed, extra accuracy is great for his kit overall. Getting Harvest Despair is very nice. Also, you're bringing turn meter decrease, you're bringing good control, you're bringing True Fear, which the issue with True Fear is that it's a percentage chance to actually activate, though if it does activate, it puts whatever ability the enemy tried using on cooldown, which is very nice, but it is a percentage chance, so it doesn't always activate. However, having the leech placed whenever True Fear is placed as well is nice because now you have kind of like a lifesteal set going in there. Leech will help heal your champions whenever they attack. So it's kind of like he brings some extra healing as well, which is pretty nice in my opinion. So his artifacts that I have set up currently on him, this build is by no means what you have to do, okay? This was for a specific arena team. When we get into testing in other areas, I'm gonna take off his boots and his banner. But basically what I have is survivability. So HP percentage, defense percent, good speed, and then as much accuracy as I can get. I'm not worried personally about having any crit rate, any crit damage. Maybe he could be okay when it comes to damage. Maybe you can make it make sense a little bit, but to be honest, I found far more success in having him built as a control champion like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and take his banner off and his pair of boots. So now we're looking at more of a reasonable level of speed, I'd say 231 speed, pretty decent defense and HP, and then pretty good accuracy. So let's go ahead and jump over here into a dungeon area. Now this champion, we'll talk about where he's actually going to be usable and like if you should actually invest in him, which is something weird to be said because before Nobel was like, okay, instant vault champion, don't even use him. So let's go ahead and drop Ragash because Ragash is going to do this stun on everybody anyway. So maybe we throw another champion in here. I could use Nikmo. Nikmo does a decreased speed, so definitely would make sense. But I don't really want to use that champion because I kind of want to let you guys see how Nobel can do by himself. So this isn't going to be great because we only have 2 champions. Obviously, if you want to build an actual team, it's going to be a lot different than just 2 champions. But here we go. So Deacon Armstrong is going to do some turn meter decrease, obviously, which is going to help Nobel have even more, get them down to 0%. So right now, they're at, well, almost 50% turn meter. Let's see what they get decreased to. So we use the Dismay skill, and they're decreased, all of them True Feared. So every single champion is now True Feared, which is awesome because now when Deacon comes back around to his turn, well, actually, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to use his A2, which will reduce the cooldown of this ability right here. So next turn, we should be able to use it. We'll use the A2 on a champion with True Fear on him, reduces the cooldown. We'll use Deacon to boost our turn meter a little bit. Always turn meter manipulation. It's very, very important with this champion. If you keep the turn meter manipulated, he's going to be great. So we literally used Dismay the first turn. We used the Harbinger the second turn. And now we're back around to Dismay. And then we'll be able to use this again next turn. So look, turn meter decrease. Boom. We'll turn it on auto, see how it works. But guys, that is some crazy turn meter manipulation in my opinion. 50% turn meter manipulating. He's literally just going A3, A2, A3, A2. We have no refresh, nothing. Like, what is this? This is crazy. This is probably, I don't want to say one of the best turn meter manipulating champions. It just sounds kind of weird coming from, or talking about a champion who has been like the most underwhelming legendary for a long time to a lot of people. But right here, for players who need turn meter manipulation and waves, I think it's pretty solid. Think about things like the Doom Tower. The nice thing about the Doom Tower is that if you bring a champion like maybe Lysandra, a champion with turn meter decrease, when you're doing that, he's going to place the True Fear on the enemies, even if they're strong affinity, because there's no hit to it. So as long as he has more accuracy than they have resistance, it's going to be perfectly fine. But you can see everybody here is locked down. We have a stun set on Deacon, but it doesn't really matter because they're literally never getting a turn. So if we had a damage dealer here, literally 2 champions, neither one of them are crazy geared, especially not for stage 25 of Dragon, but they got this wave locked down completely. And if the champions do get a turn somehow, then that means that they have a chance of just skipping their turn. They have a chance of making that ability go on cooldown and then basically going into the same thing. And even if you are slower, the enemy does get a turn before you, well, he's just going to use his Dismay again and drop the turn meter 50%, and then boom, you're back in the same spot. They're a low turn meter, and just imagine if you had decreased speed on this as well. We have no decreased speed, we have no increased speed. So this is going off of 2 champions with about 230 speed, more or less. Now, Nobel is booked. When he's not booked, the cooldowns on that ability is a little bit weird. It's not as smooth transition as what you just now saw, but Deacon, he's sitting at a speed of 224. These are not unrealistic speeds whatsoever. So let's go over to, obviously, all the dungeons are going to be the same. Dungeon content, if you need wave control, I think he's going to be a very solid option for a lot of players, to be honest. So Spider, very similar thing. AoE turn meter reduce, pretty nice. Definitely not something to complain about. So the thing about Doom Tower is, since there will be Spirit Affinity champions in the wave, sometimes Noble will weak hit, not doing his decreased turn meter, which is going to be a little bit unfortunate, but not a huge deal. Assuming you're bringing plenty of turn meter decrease, it's going to allow him to get that fear up, no problem whatsoever. Let me go ahead and throw in a Lysandra as well, just because the waves here are going to be faster than in Dragon example before. So we'll throw in Lysandra. I don't know how fast she is. I don't know if I even have her built. Okay, she is 261, not too bad. We'll throw in the lead, and then we'll just get an example of how well this is going to do, placing the True Fear on everybody. And if she fully depletes everybody's turn meter right off the bat, then it's going to be amazing. So we'll use the A3 here. We have no Tormund, which is great. So we have the A3 from Noble. Hopefully we get full turn meter decrease on everybody. Perfect. We have True Fear on everybody. Now we can just turn on auto, and we should be perfectly fine. So now Noble's going to do his A2. He's going to come back around. Obviously, Lysandra's doing a lot of turn meter boosting, which is amazing. But now Noble's going to boom, A3, full turn meter boost, into the A2, decreasing the turn meter of the A3, and then boom, back into another A3 ability. So obviously, if you had another champion in here, alongside these turn meter decrease champions doing actual damage, you could get through these waves pretty easily. So if you bring Noble into the team, obviously he's not going to perform by himself, which is a big complaint about him. Like, hey, you have to have another champion to set him up. You do, but that's with any champion, right? Like Lysandra's not going to kill waves by herself. Deacon's not going to kill waves by himself. You got to bring other champions to support the champions. But I don't think Noble's actually, in my opinion, as bad as he's been given a rep for, to be honest. So we got through this first wave, full turn meter control. Nobody even took a turn. We do have the stun sets, but still, nobody's taking a turn whatsoever. We're never getting hit, and his turn meter is going crazy. So many turns taken from Noble, and he's not even that crazy fast, to be honest. So now, the next thing, the thing I want to show you guys. Now, I may do a video on this another time, because I feel like this could make an entire different video, because the synergy of this team is actually very, very nice. But besides that, the team has a little bit of complexities to it. But let's go ahead and give an example, okay? So it's an arena team. It's kind of a go second team, but not really. You're not planning to get hit. You're planning to go slower than the enemy, but you're planning to have your speed boosted to go before them. That doesn't make sense at all, but hang with me. You're going to find out. So let's go ahead and equip this stuff. Now we have good accuracy, good speed, which is very important for this thing specifically. You want to make sure you're very fast. This arena team I'm about to show you all is a very specific arena team. Very specific synergies, very specific champions. However, as far as using Noble in general, I definitely think he could be going second after your Arbiter for AoE turn meter decrease. But if you have weak hits, it could be an issue. He is Force Affinity, so any Spirit Affinity champions, he could be weak hitting. But this team right here is probably the most unique team synergy and setup that I've probably ever seen, to be honest. So look at these victories. Victory, victory, victory. Bunch of victories. So this team was not my idea. This was an idea from Garrett on the stream. He said that he attacked somebody's defense like this and was mind blown that the team actually did so well. So we have Calvalax, Noble, Gaius, and Gerda. So if you look at this team, think about it. How do you think this team works? Okay. What do you think happens? Obviously, Gaius places the bombs, but how am I winning against teams like this? Okay. They're faster than me, probably. Maybe not with 130,000 player power, but 203,000 player power. They're definitely faster than me. Faster than me. Probably all these teams are faster than me. How is this team with a 19% speed aura winning against teams with a 300 speed Noble, my fastest champion on the team, winning against teams with a 30% speed aura and a probably much faster than 300 speed Arbiter? Well, let's jump in here and see how this team works. So Gerda, her passive ability, reduces enemies' turn meter whenever a debuff is placed by 3%. So that's pretty good. But then you have Calvalax placing 4 poisons, so that's 12% turn meter decrease, plus Noble, 12% turn meter decrease when they have no turn meter at the beginning of a match anyways, is going to be a full turn meter decrease. So Noble is going to place True Fear on everybody. So they're going to be lower turn meter and True Fear. So if they even get a turn, they're probably going to be out of speed tune, or at least much slower than they were originally anyways. So the Arbiter, I don't know if she actually took a turn there. I don't think she did. I think she just got True Fear locked out, which is amazing. Lysandra may have taken a turn. I don't know. But then here we go with Noble. He's going to do his AoE A3 ability, reduce their turn meter pretty significantly. This is why accuracy is so important. And then we have his A2 ability. He's basically going to be using the turn meter decrease again next turn once it comes back. And then we have Gerda. Her kit is actually very interesting. So she has a weaken, which helps with Gaius's bombs. But she also has a remove 1 random buff, which if they place immunity, if they have immunity sets on them, this is very useful. So she's also needing very high accuracy, or at least pretty high accuracy. So let's go ahead and place some more poisons, some weaken, and then we'll come in with the bombs from Gaius, place it right asleep if it doesn't kill him already. So this team is a little bit softer, okay? This team's a little bit lower player power, definitely not a super tanky team by no means. So it's a little bit more understandable why this team's going to be killed pretty easily. Let's go ahead and find a team who's a little bit higher level. All right, guys, so I refreshed the list to find a team that was a little bit more difficult to face. So this team right here, level 81, 215,000 player power, and it looks like a team that's going to be a little bit more, I guess, faster and hopefully a little bit better competition. Maybe they just blow me out. We'll see. Maybe they just absolutely destroy my team. But either way, this team is one of the most interesting teams I've seen. So Nobel obviously is doing the True Fear, locking the people out, skipping their turn. We use the A3, reduce their turn meter, hopefully reduce everybody's turn meter. Boom. We're going to use the A2. Honestly, getting the A1 with Evil Eye would probably be better, but we don't have that. Actually, decreased buff duration. So we don't have Evil Eye, which definitely, like I said, would be better if we did. We're going to go ahead and use Gaius's bombs on everybody. Yumiko didn't even get a turn. If she does, may just be True Feared anyways. So we'll find out in just a few seconds. Let's see. Okay. She didn't get True Feared, which is unfortunate because, well, I would rather her be True Feared, but that's the issue with True Fear is it doesn't always activate. So with Nobel, I'm not going to do a ton. So I don't want to do a ton of arena matches right now because it'd take a long time for the video and the video's already gone long enough. But I may do another one showcasing this team more in depth and how you'd actually build the team because I do think it's a pretty cool team either way. We just got another victory 10 seconds ago. 189,000 player power, level 89 with 3.3 million power. So this team's winning quite a bit. The defense is a very unassuming defense, right? Very like, what's going on here? What in the world is this? So the team is interesting in my opinion. I think it's a very, very cool team, very unique team in general. But I do want to go a little bit more in depth with this team. Obviously with Nobel, I do think they should change his kit a little bit more. I don't think this ignoring defense is any use whatsoever. I think maybe he should actually have some more True Fear placing in his kit. But as it stands, I don't actually know if he's the worst legendary. I think the reviews he's been given are actually mostly incorrect, to be honest. So definitely a champion who, with the buff to the True Fear, or at least I'm pretty sure it's a buff, where he's 100% chance when fully booked of placing it versus 75% chance when fully booked of placing it, is significant. I think it's a huge buff. And it went from being more RNG to a little bit less RNG now. So I definitely like that. But as far as an amazing champion, as far as a top tier legendary, he's definitely not a top tier legendary, but he is a champion who, especially if you're early game, mid game, progressional, going through Doom Tower, you don't have seer, you need wave control champions. I think he's a very solid champion and much better than a +1 ninja, right? And Ninja's great. The only way you can empower Ninja is with Nobel, but I do think Nobel is actually more than just a +1 ninja. So guys, let me know what you all think. Do you all think I am completely crazy that Plarium has gone to my brain and that seeing these champions so bad is actually the worst thing you've ever heard me make a video about? Or do you think maybe Nobel's not actually that bad? Are these your guys' faces real time? Everybody disliking the video, angry faces. It's actually pretty neat. Or do you think Nobel's actually not that bad of a champion? Let me know down below. Definitely interested in hearing from you guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like it, drop a sub to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll catch you all in the next one.